it that on Flag Day, it's also President Trump's birthday. 78 years old and still able to put together coherent sentences, walk without falling, and enter into lively discussion without having emergency bowel events. Thank you very much. Not like the other guy. So that, and we will also have Trent Franks on the program today. Later on, we will be talking with him. He's a candidate from the state of Arizona. All of this and much more with a tribute, in fact, to someone else who I admire on Flag Day, the great one, Rush. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. The Right Side with Doug Billings is now upon you. Are you ready? Let's go.
Hey, everybody. My name is General Mike Flynn, and I'm here to do a big shout-out for my great friend and one of the best in the business, Mr. Doug Billings. Right Side with Doug Billings, Right Side with Doug Billings. Doug is the future of the airwaves when it comes to independent broadcasters and podcasters. He is the new Rush Limbaugh. He's exactly what America needs right now, looking for honesty, looking for wisdom, looking for truth, looking for patriotism. Listen to Doug Billings at Right Side with Doug Billings. God bless you and God bless America, and thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are winning. We're winning, winning, winning. Welcome to the Right Side with Doug Billings. Are you ready?
We are not liberal snowflakes who melt away in the face of tragedy, adversity, and challenge. We are a covenant nation under God, and his divine providence is not dead and it's not gone. It is living within each and every one of you. And you will bring it to life in such a way that the world has never seen before. We never back down. We never give up. We march forward.
Hi, everybody. Doug Billings with you. Thanks for joining us. Look, we are the place where intellectual maturity is given to you, and you, as a result, become the most intellectually mature audience in all of podcast land. Thanks for being with me. A few business items before we dig into the show today. A lot of good news to share with you. Of course, Flag Day, some good news from the Supreme Court. We're going to have Trent Franks on the show, congressional candidate from the state of Arizona. Also want to remind you, before we get into all of that, DougBillings.us is the place you need to go. If you want to support the show, please support the show so that we can continue to bring it to you. This is what I do for a living, and we need your support to continue to give out the show and the information that's contained in it. There's a donate tab over there. I am not a salesman. I never have been. I've never been an entrepreneur in my life, but now we're forced to. The mainstream media, the legacy media, social media platforms canceling us left and right and trying to demonetize us. So if you feel so moved, and if you would prayerfully consider a recurring monthly donation over at DougBillings.us, that is how we can ensure that the show can continue. The show must go on, ladies and gentlemen. And soon on that website, you'll see things like the weekly Right Side memo. There'll be announcements about my Determined Patriotism conferences that are going to be coming up in various states, running right up to and beyond the election this November. How to hire me if you want me to come and speak at an event, check it out over there. All sorts of things, a great shopping experience for you, health products, all sorts of things that you should check out at DougBillings.us. You're going to buy this stuff and look at these things. You're going to get your news from multiple sources. I understand it, but this is the place where I hope that you choose to go. So we will be grateful always for that. So, ladies and gentlemen, today, June 14th, a double holiday today for us. Imagine that. Not only is it Flag Day, where we get to honor the American flag, the red, white, and blue, the stars and stripes, and recognize that that is the flag that we should be flying outside of our homes and in our schools, and not the rainbow coalition of immorality kookness that we see in this month of June. June is the flag of the United States of America. It is the month of the flag of the United States of America. Happy Flag Day to all of you. And as a double whammy, we have another one, another holiday. Soon to be a holiday. Just watch. It'll be on your federal calendars in a matter of time. President Trump, his birthday today, June 4th. Happy birthday, Mr. President. We appreciate that. 78 years of age and still able to walk, talk, eat, sleep, and control his bodily functions. Not like the other guy. Not like that guy. No, Trump is with it. He's strong, and he is cognizant, and he's going to make a return. 45, soon to be 47. Happy birthday, sir. Welcome to the program, ladies and gentlemen. I want to know your opinions, and we have a number where you can call in and give us your opinions. Talk live with me on the program, 901-316-8404. 901-316-8404. It's right there on the bottom of your screen. Wasn't it nice when we had a president, ladies and gentlemen, who loved America, who honored the flag? I love that picture. One of my favorite pictures of President Trump is the one where he's hugging the flag. Well, there I am. I've been with him 3 or 4 times down there at Mar-a-Lago. Had great conversation with him. What a great guy. One of the most substantial. Let me correct that. The most substantial president that this republic has ever had, and certainly the most beneficial and the best president in the modern era. But that picture of him holding and hugging the American flag remains one of my all-time favorite pictures of the president. I love his patriotism, love the way that he loves America, and I love the way that he wants to make it great again. And so, God willing, we will see him be navigated back in by virtue of our participation in the system to the White House, where he will become 47, 45, and 47. I like the way that sounds. So happy birthday, President Trump. We appreciate it. May you continue to remain in good health, and I look forward to 4 more years once you return in November. Today also reminds me of one of the men who I looked up to for most of my adult life. He was someone who many of you know. And for 3 hours, he was with us, one of the most brilliant American commentators, one of the most brilliant political minds in our time, if not in all of history. Today is not necessarily officially associated with him, but I personally am always reminded of this guy on Flag Day. And he has always, he's always struck me on Flag Day. Not only was his analysis of the state of play in America and around the world spot on and accurate. Rush Limbaugh, you know who I'm talking about. Had the chance to meet him in person. There's a picture. Now, that was taken way back in the day. That was back in the, actually, that picture, George Brett from the Kansas City Royals was being inducted into the Hall of Fame, and Rush was a big fan. For all of you true Rush fans, you know that he worked for a short time for the Kansas City Royals. He and George Brett are good friends, and I got a chance to meet him in person. And, his compassion, his love of the country, his desire to teach us that the conservative way to lift people up out of circumstances that may, in many times, in many fashions, be out of their control, wasn't up to the government. This is where people like Rush, Limbaugh, and Ronald Reagan have a lot in common, where they taught us that it was hard work, it was dedication, it was perseverance, it was understanding that rising up above challenge, adversity, and tragedy is what it makes up the nature and the worldview of the conservative. And I love that about Rush. I love that he did that. And when he did it, he entered into our lives at key moments. He entered into our lives at key moments. And for me, that phrase has been the definition of the meaning of life ever since my days in college, when I studied to be a priest back in the day. A wise old monk. We were talking about God, Jesus, of course, Jesus being the focal point of the meaning of life. But beyond that, in everyday life, with regards to our brothers and sisters, what's the meaning of life? Why was I born? Why am I here? My answer to that question, to enter continually into the lives of others. And believe it or not, I had a chance to talk with Rush Limbaugh about this. I called into his show, and this video that I want to show you was made during that call, and it was just 3 months before he passed away. And it was an honor of a lifetime to speak with him. Check it out, my conversation with Rush Limbaugh.
Doug in Olathe, Kansas, I'm glad you waited. It's great to have you on the EIB network. Hello.
Rush, mega dittos, mega prayers, Rush, for a miracle. I have been listening to you for decades, and I want to, in my travels and in my work, I have encountered a lot of people, but none like you. People have wondered since the time of antiquity, really, what is the meaning of life? Why are we here? Why was I born? And these words to me are important, and I want...
Okay, hang on just a second. If you ponder things like this, I'd love to know what you do for a living. Would you mind telling me?
I don't mind, and I'm grateful that you asked. I have a podcast, a conservative political podcast that I have started since COVID. I was furloughed from healthcare. I was an executive in the healthcare industry.
Okay.
But I, in March, started a podcast. And I studied to be a priest once upon a time.
All right.
Now, Rush, the meaning of life, this question that people have pondered, and my simple definition is this: the reason that we're born, the reason that we're here, is to enter continually into the lives of others to make differences for the better. And you, Rush, have fulfilled the meaning of life time and time again. You have entered my life and influenced me. You've entered millions of lives to make differences for the better, and I want you to hear those words, and I want you to know that I believe them, and thank you for everything, Rush. I can only hope that one day maybe there would be a soundbite on your show, Rush Limbaugh, fulfilling the meaning of life. But in seriousness, thank you. I'm so grateful that I got through, and I'm so grateful that I got to tell you my view on that and how it applies to you.
Well, that's pretty powerful. I'm greatly moved by that. I think a lot of people now and then will get very introspective and will ask a version of that question. Why are we here? What's the meaning of life? Is this all there is? There's got to be, particularly people who don't think they're mattering much, people who think that they've got things to do that they haven't done. Or people who are, some people, very highly achieved and are not satisfied by it, not like they thought they would be. They're very highly achieved, maybe even earn a lot of money, but there's still an emptiness in them. So they're running around asking themselves, what is this all about? Why are we here? And what, again, is you think people are here, the reason for life, we're here to involve ourselves and interact in the lives of others for the betterment of those lives. Is that what you say?
Yes, simply put, we are called to enter into the lives of others continually to make differences for the better.
To make differences for the better. And does that stem from your religious training and beliefs or something else? Is it metaphysical?
I think to a degree it does, yes. The short answer to that question is yes. But I don't think one has to be necessarily religious to want to enter into the lives of others to make differences for the better. I think that's a basic human calling and a basic human recognition.
It can be said that some of the greatest feelings of satisfaction that people will ever experience are when they've done something for somebody else that person couldn't do for themselves. For people that experience that, there's nothing like it. It is a great, great, great feeling of, I don't want to belittle it by getting the definition wrong. Satisfaction, achievement, there's something deeply meaningful about it. So I think you have a point to be able to make a difference in somebody's life in a way that they might not be able to themselves.
Exactly. Yeah, and I just want words to me are important, and those are, I think, powerful words. And given all that you're going through, I want to make sure that somebody tells you that you and your life have fulfilled the meaning of life by entering into ours to make differences for the better.
Well, I certainly hear you, and I'm. Thank you for it. I'm very profoundly, deeply moved by that. I myself have pondered the quote unquote meaning of life. Why are we here? And when I do, that's just another avenue. It takes me straight to God. You can't answer that question without believing in or acknowledging the existence of and then trying to understand God, knowing you're never going to. But the effort of trying to is a great, great thing. And you can get in the weeds pretty quickly when you start asking, what is the purpose of life? Why are we all here? And how deeply do you take it? What's the humanity? You're talking about all life because it's all combined. And I spend a lot of time thinking about things like this in a philosophical way, as a way of confirming beliefs There was a French philosopher named Pascal who practically went nuts trying to prove to himself the existence of God. He got mad as heck that God would not reveal himself. First name was Blaise Pascal. And he, since God would not reveal himself, he began to philosophize, come up with ways of proving to himself God existed without God having to prove it, because he figured out God never was going to prove it. That God was, you believe or you don't. It's not up to me. God says it's up to you. It's this thing called faith, and it's up to you. So Pascal began to evolve all kinds of different philosophies. The thing that gave him the biggest challenge was the resurrection. He just intellectually, how in the world can that happen? So he came up with an explanation that satisfied himself. And you may be familiar with it. And I'm paraphrasing his end result. But he eventually postulated that it is much easier to believe that something that has been can be again. Much easier to believe that than to believe that something that has never been can be or will be. And so it was that simple little philosophy that gave him some comfort. Hey, if something existed once again, it can be again. And that's how he... Now, a lot of believers think it's blasphemy. You don't try to solve it yourself. You accept it. Believe it. That's the faith. You start trying to prove it. Well, Pascal needed... My father was the same way. He evolved all kinds of stuff, shared his philosophies and theories on all this with my brother and me. Anyway, I'm a little long. Got to take a break. We will be back. Thank you very much, Doug. Deeply appreciate your nice...
Wasn't that incredible? What a guy. And it was just 3 months after that recording when Rush passed away. We will always miss him. More, ladies and gentlemen, when we come back from this break. Stay with me. Believe it. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that you could change the trajectory of your aging process? Look and feel better, live younger, be more active, less pain when you move around, sleep better, diminish the lines and the wrinkles on your face? Really? This is what I'm telling you. It's possible. You see, low stem cell activity happens when we get older, and it could be causing many of the health problems that some people have in the world today. Because as we get older, we have less stem cell activity, which means we age faster and we heal slower. The secret is a clinically proven and patented phototherapy non-transdermal patch, whose technology is the result of over 90 clinical studies and over 20 years of research. Your healthier life can begin today, and you can discover true age reversal. Age reversal, ladies and gentlemen. Please go to liveyongerwithdoug.us. liveyongerwithdoug.us, ladies and gentlemen. Get over there today. Or if you'd like, text my name, Doug, to 41372. Doug, text it, 41372. And get over to liveyongerwithdoug.us. Get younger, feel younger. I'm doing it. I'm wearing this patch. I feel great. And so will you. God bless you, ladies and gentlemen. For the Republic. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to The Right Side with Doug Billings, where we meet in determined prayer and determined patriotism. That's how we roll over here. What'd you think about that Rush episode? Wasn't that? I'm so blessed and so honored that I was able to get through as a caller on the program, and that they sent me that clip. It's just a blessing, and it was especially since his time was drawing to a close there. So you saw him behind his golden EIB microphone. Wasn't that awesome? Just the sound of his voice harkens me back to, driving in my car, listening to him during lunch break. I love Rush, and I know that many of you did as well. There will never be, ever, never another Rush Limbaugh. And I'm honored that some people that I've run into since starting this show, General Michael Flynn, Glenn Beck, and President Trump himself have said that, hey, you know what? You remind me of Rush Limbaugh. And I say that from every place of humility. That is not an ego statement at all. It's an honor. I'm quick to remind people that whenever that is said, that there will never be another one, but it's always an honor. How could it not be? When people say, hey, you kind of remind me of Rush. Well, that's great. And it's an honor, and there will never be another one. But we will endeavor to carry that torch and to carry on the dispensation of truth and creating the most intellectually mature audience in all of podcast land because of that dispensation of truth that we endeavor to put forth every day on this show. So another thing that people always, not always, but often enough, where I want to comment on it now, is that they look at this microphone here that you see in front of me. It's golden. And some people are tempted to think that I'm trying to, imitate. Not at all. Not at all. This microphone was given to me by a friend. He goes by the name of the Commander's Artist. And he gave me this microphone, bought it for me, sent it to me as a tribute because I reminded him of Rush. So I use it to honor my friend, the Commander's Artist. And it was very nice of him to do that and send it here. And it's not a cheap microphone. And it was just very nice. And so that's why I have my golden microphone in front of me. It has nothing to do with me trying to replace the greatest political commentator in our lifetime. So thanks to the Commander's Artist and his website, thecommandersartist.com. Check it out, by the way, because see that huge painting of me? That is actually me on that horse behind me on the wall there. The Commander's Artist made that, and he's the premier patriot artist in the country. He's been what's the term? He has been commissioned by not only General Flynn and Sidney Powell. We've given prints to President Trump from the Commander's Artist. So he's really a good guy. You should check it out, thecommandersartist.com. I don't get a darn thing for that, just mentioning a friend. That's all. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget also, you want to be part of the phone conversation. You want to talk with us online here, 901-316-8404. 901-316-8404 to be part of the conversation. Arizona, one of the battleground states. We all know the debacle that happened down there in that state. One of the candidates running for Congress down there, you're going to find out a great American patriot. If you have not already heard about Trent Franks, you need to look him up, trentfranks.com. But you don't have to go very far, ladies and gentlemen. It just so happens that he's standing by, and we're going to bring him on the program right now. Trent, welcome to The Right Side.
Doug, how are you?
We're doing well, my friend. We're doing well. I hope you're holding up. I know you're very busy down in Arizona. You've got a heck of a race going on down there. I can't wait to talk to you about it.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. It's always an exciting thing, and no matter what you're doing, if you're in the middle of a congressional race, boy, I tell you, it's certainly not boring.
We on this program for the last. We started this program 4 years ago. We talk about certain things going on, and there are certain common elements that seem just to be recurring in this republic. And I have said, for the record, that I believe that this chaos that we have experienced, especially during the last 4 years of Administrator Biden's reign, I never call the guy president, Administrator Biden and his administration has rained down upon us purposeful chaos. So I want to talk to you about a few items that fall underneath that umbrella, in my opinion. The first of which is one that we're see play out right now in front of us, and that is the Biden weaponized Department of Justice. Give me your take on this, Trent.
Well, first of all, Logan, I just am convinced that you mentioned the most important factor there is, and that's the weaponization of government. There's nothing that I fear right now happening more than that. For forever, the left has been holding themselves unconstrained to the truth. That's been around a long time. They have had selective enforcement of the law, and then they began to ignore the law for themselves, and now they're using it as a cudgel to destroy their opponents. And that last one represents the place where if we step into that environment for any length of time, that it will be the end of our country. It will undo our very revolution. You know, we had that little unpleasantness with England over the rule of law, where the janitor and the senator had the same rights under the law. It wasn't a rule of man. And when you weaponize the law, you've taken it in hand, and it's a human control over everyone, and it is deadly beyond words, and it is the death of a republic like ours.
I agree. I think, you know, what they've done, and with all of it, and it's amazing because you would think they would. I know for a fact that liberals watch this program. I know that they take some of these things that I've said and they spin them out of context on social media. I know that they watch a lot of right side branded news media. You would think they would learn their lesson. This is not, we've been saying it for months. It is only empowering and bolstering President Trump's popularity. This ruling out of New York, for example, which is the silliest of all of the lawfare that President Trump is facing, has turned him into a political martyr. I've just seen polls today where he's up 7, 8, 10% nationally against Administrator Biden. You'll never hear that from the left. You'll never see that on the legacy media. But that is, in fact, what they've done. They have martyrized President Trump in a political sense.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. And here's the thing that should be an ear-splitting warning to the whole country. If they can do such a thing as they did in New York in that kangaroo court to a billionaire former president of the United States, I think everybody should intrinsically understand that they can do it to anyone. And I think that might be part of the real bump in his polls, because they know that if he doesn't get elected, that it's not just about a presidential race anymore. It's about the safety of people in this country under the law. I mean, it's so hard sometimes to explain to people what happens when the construct of the law disappears, when it's just merely we step into the Sumerian night where the light of human compassion has gone out and the survival of the fittest rules over humanity. That's where we're headed if we dissipate the rule of law. And it is something that I think is one of the most important things we should all be concerned about. We should all be concerned about a lot of things. It seems like the whole country is headed, on a sled to hell almost, with Joe Biden at the helm. But the reality is that there's nothing more dangerous to us than using our rule of law and completely turning it around to a weaponized mechanism that undermines everything that country ever stood for.
Well, I absolutely agree. We cannot have this weaponization take place to the point where we're imprisoning and putting threats. And they want to take Trump off the ballot. They want to break him financially. We've got to get beyond this, and I think that we will. The second thing, Trent, that I want to talk to you about, and by the way, before we go any further, Trent, let's let people know where they can find and support you. Tell us about the website, sure, the campaign, before we go any further. Let's make sure.
It's a complicated website. Just TrentFranks.com. TrentFranks.com. There's an S, Frank with an S. And we'd love them to go. There's a lot of information. If you want to see the best videos in the galaxy, you go there.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Okay. Second topic I want to run by you before we got a few more minutes. And do you have some time to stay through until the next break, Trent, just so sure. I can gauge? Okay.
Yeah, I don't get on your program very often, my friend. So I'm happy that you're doing it. Yeah. And I know. That's why I say I'm happy you're doing it. And we want to try to get you started off the right way.
You are, you're always welcome to come back. So so the second topic, I think that's important for conservatives to hear this, because I think the radical liberal left woke mob, this coalition of immorality, as I call them, they have tried to convince us, bully us, pressure us, and otherwise say that abortion and the value of human life is a losing issue for us.
Yeah.
I disagree completely. In fact, I just spoke at great length about this because yesterday President Trump met with the Republican members of the House and the Senate, and he spoke about abortion to a degree and the sanctity of life. And I was so proud of the president. I think abortion and the value and the sanctity of human life is an issue that the Republican Party, conservative Republicans, should run at head on. We have the moral high ground on this issue. It's the right to life is the primary right that comes to us from God. Before life, there is nothing more sacred. Everything else flows from that. We need to rebrand it to a degree, promise and tell women we love them, we care for them for their child, and that men need to be held accountable to the role of fatherhood, even if that role happened by accident. So we need to rebrand it, but I think we ought to run at it head on, Trent, and take it on. What are your thoughts?
Well, I am so proud to hear you say that. I'm proud of you. You don't need me to be proud of you, but I am, brother, because I tell you, the media has tried to make the whole issue too hot to touch. But here's a couple of realities. Number one, there was a time when this country, the best they can tell, they didn't have big polls then, but in the late 1860s, about 2-1 for slavery. And yet the Republican Party stepped forward when the Supreme Court, under the Dred Scott decision, said that the black man was not a person.
Okay,
we said,
as soon as
yes,
he
he is.
I'll take a break.
I'm so sorry?
I think that I didn't mean to interrupt you if I did, Trent.
Well, that's okay.
I was actually talking to Logan on the other line. I think, go ahead and continue your thought if you were done.
Okay, no, and I want to make sure I'm calling you the right name here. I've got, it says Logan up, but I thought you were Doug. I am. Forgive me.
I am. Yeah, you're looking at our producer Logan, who's doing a fantastic job behind the scenes. It's all right. Don't worry about it. It's all good.
Well, I'm calling you Doug, right? Because I don't want to get it wrong.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Right.
So, but Doug, I am proud of you, because the reality is that, this party was born out of a commitment on a group of people, mostly Christians, that said that you cannot desecrate a human being because of the melanin in their skin. And we stood strong in the face of great opposition, and we elected a Republican president for the very first time. That's how the party was born, was out of a commitment to protecting innocent human life. And that sustained us in the crucible of a horrible civil war. And if we now somehow decide that we don't have the courage to protect the most innocent of all children, if we can't make protecting little babies a winning issue, not only do we not deserve to govern, but we most assuredly will go the way of the Whigs. And I am so encouraged to hear someone like you talk like you did.
Thank you very much, Trent. Okay, hey, listen, we are up against a break. Stay with me. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the trip you're about to take into the wonderful land of capitalism. I will be right back with Trent Franks right after this. Stay with us. Cheers.
Hello, I'm Brandon House, and I want to tell you about Numi. This is a swish. You just take 2 capfuls, swish it around your mouth for 3 to 4 minutes, and you're absorbing, according to the studies, glutathione. Now, you don't need to take my word for it. There are over 162,000 studies on PubMed on the power of glutathione. It is a powerful molecule that studies show detoxes our cells. Some studies even show that glutathione might remove mercury from our brains, help to prevent things like Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's. Now, look, I'm not making claims. I'm just telling you what the research is showing about the powerful molecule glutathione. Numi is the product that contains glutathione. Melissa and I swish with this twice a day. We urge you to go to Numi.com/house1. That's Numi, NEUMI.com/HOWSE and the numeral 1. Begin finding out about the power of glutathione while also supporting this broadcast network. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to The Right Side with Doug Billings, where we point out with great amount of joy, I might add, the intellectual immaturity of liberals everywhere. With Trent Franks. Trent, hey, your campaign in Arizona, we're happy to see and talk with a conservative Republican. We have such a problem in our party with rhinos, this Republican in name only crowd, that it plagues us. And I have been talking ad nauseum about how we American conservatives at our local levels, within our states, at our county level, especially since we're in this election season, need to make sure that we're vetting these candidates, that they can earn the R behind their name. We all know that there's Democrats who know they can't get elected in the districts that they're in, so they attach an R to themselves, and they get in and they become a problem. And how does that affect Arizona, in your opinion, and then part B, let's get into your campaign. What are you facing down there? What can we talk about and help you with regards to your campaign in Arizona?
Well, first of all, I think the whole rhino syndrome is a problem that is ubiquitous across the country. And we have to be aware of it, because I've learned over the years, I was rated most conservative member of Congress. I was in the Freedom Caucus, one of the earliest members. I was one of the founding members of the different conservative groups that are probably well known to all of them. I don't even know where to start with them. I was chairman of the Constitution Subcommittee, and started to help start the Tea Party. So I mean, it's very hard to look at my record and see anything but of a very conservative Republican. But what happens when people don't have a record? I do. It's one that it can't be denied. But when they don't, they can say a lot of things and say what they're going to do, and you just kind of have to take them at their word. And once they get elected, it becomes very difficult at that point to dislodge them. So it is vital that we pay attention to what really drives someone. And I've learned that if you can learn what is in the impulse of their souls, their faith, their philosophy, what really moves them, why are they doing this in the first place? And you have to drill down a little bit. But that's what sustains people to maintain their commitment in the crucible of all of the parliamentary shenanigans that occur. And I'm thankful. If I had to go back and change my voting record, I don't know where I would change it. Now, I don't say that arrogantly, but I really don't. I tried to vote in a way that I thought honored God and blessed this country and did what was right under the Constitution. And so I didn't have to, pay attention to all of the pressure. And I think in some ways it makes it easier to be a committed conservative in your own heart before you go, because then you just do what you think's right and don't worry about the rest,
Agreed, completely agreed. And you remind me when you say that we get back to the intent of this republic. And when we really think about it, Trent, the founding fathers, I've said it, if I've said it once, I've said it 3 dozen times. God inspired this republic. He inspired the creation of it. I think that our founding documents are inspired by God and written by men. The divine providence that the founders spoke about, not only in public, but in their private journals and their speeches and so forth. All we have to do is do a simple search about how all of them wanted God to be woven within the fabric of our society. And we have a radical left mob, coalition of immorality, that has done everything they can to excommunicate God from that. And one of the ways that they have done it, full well down in Arizona, is that, as again we said earlier, this cascade of chaos coming across literally the border. It's absolutely out of control. It's not a mistake. It's not accidental. It's obviously on purpose. I think that they want these people to be the new electoral base of their party, among other things. But the dilution of our national security, our national identity, not to mention the threat that it poses to children. It's this flood of illegal immigrants.
Well, Doug, I couldn't agree with you more. You know, the thing that you point out, though, is so relevant. When I was in Congress and when Donald Trump was president, I had already been part of an effort to sponsor legislation that was successful, and it did away with some of these asylum loopholes. It empowered local law enforcement, and it built a border wall. And we were in the process of that. It was mandated. And then when Barack Obama came in, he ignored it. Donald Trump got elected. He didn't ignore it. He secured the border. We had a truly secure border under Donald Trump and the legislation that was already on the books. But then when Joe Biden came in, it all went to hell in a handbasket because Joe Biden simply refused to enforce the law. So it's not the laws. It's not, you don't have to elect people to make better laws. The problem is we've got to elect a president who will enforce the law. And if you elect a good members of the House, that's important because they back up the president. But without the president, we're going to be in trouble. And I can't express to people how important it is to reelect or return Donald Trump to the White House. The alternative may be the end of the country. And so what you said is entirely correct. And I will tell you, too, that if they were Republicans coming across the southern border, the border would be sealed tonight.
I'm a glass is half full kind of guy. I'm an optimist by nature. I look, I meet a lot of people. A lot of them ask because of the state of play they see in America. The nightmare that we're in. I try to encourage them. I do believe it. I am not just blowing sunshine their way when I say America is not on her deathbed. We are in a nightmare. There's no doubt about that. I don't believe that America is on her deathbed. I believe that we're in a nightmare, and the good news about that is that everybody wakes up from nightmares. And across this republic, multiple hundreds of millions of people are waking up, and I chalk it up to the divine providence of God. I think there is such a great reawakening to the divine providence of God that it is going to be beyond even what was experienced during the time of the founding fathers. This reawakening that we're seeing, even people, John and Jane Doe on the streets of Phoenix, Arizona, who might have voted for Administrator Biden, are looking around this country and they're thinking to themselves, this is not what I signed up for. And I think we're seeing that in the polls, and I think we're seeing it by virtue of the fact that the almost $500 million has been raised by President Trump since that verdict came down out of New York. Yeah. People are beginning to turn his way. Do you get a sense of that in your?
Well, I sure do, and that's probably where we're going to end up ending the program. But I really want you to know, Doug, once again, so proud of what you're having to say here, because yes, we're in a terrible position, but this is not the time to raise the white flag, because just the fact that you mentioned the polls are so much against Mr. Biden right now, that shows the American people have not lost their minds completely. And I'm reminded of the historical account when they signed the Declaration of Independence. It was a pretty challenging time. And they say that Thomas Jefferson was very, very concerned about what was going to happen. And John Page said to him, he said, do you not think that there's an angel that rides in the whirlwind and directs this storm? And that's pretty powerful, because I believe that when, the Lord said in the Bible that, in this world you'll have tribulation, but be of good cheer, I've overcome the world. And I'm convinced that God still has a purpose for America. And I'm convinced that there still is an angel that rides in the whirlwind and directs this storm. And this country right now has a 2024 opportunity to change this trajectory back on track with the founding fathers' dreams.
Amen, Trent. Amen. All right. We are at the time where we've got to say goodbye, but I want to give you the final word. I want you to have a chance to speak to the people of Arizona and the Republic in general. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't need to live in Arizona in order to support true conservative patriot candidates like this. TrentFranks.com is the website. Trent, you've got the final couple of minutes here. Take it away and just give us some closing thoughts as we head out of the break.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. First of all, I'm glad you're on the air. It's not just one person that does this. If people will look at my record, they'll know right away whether they want to support me or not. I've been very committed to national security. I was the chairman of the Missile Defense Caucus. I was chairman of the Constitution Subcommittee, because I believe without the Constitution remaining strong, that this republic will die. I'm convinced that we have to look to the next generation instead of just the next election. I'm convinced that there's a lot of hope. And if you look at my voting record, you will see that of a committed constitutional conservative that fought as hard as he possibly could. And unfortunately, we just got to keep on fighting. But we don't want to spend those those summer years, those years at the end of our lives, as Reagan said, trying to explain to our children what it was once like in America where men were free. And so I would ask people to go on, find TrentFranks.com. We've got a tremendously challenging race here. There's 6 of us. It's going to be close. I represented this district for 15 years. And so you already know by my record, if you look at it, where I stand on everything. And with that, I pray God's will be done. And I believe that this country is worth saving, and I'm going to do my best to do my part.
Very well said and well met. Well met, Trent. Ladies and gentlemen, TrentFranks.com, the website. Trent, thank you very much indeed for your time today. God bless you and good luck with the campaign.
God bless you, sir. Thank you, Doug.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it. Wow. I mean, that's where we need to be. We need to get our heads wrapped around hope and hard work. And as we say on this program, determined patriotism. That's where we need to be. We are definitely in a nightmare. Absolutely 100%. But we don't give up. We understand that we've got a lot of work to do. We are experiencing, however, a great reawakening against this nightmare. You are the remnant, ladies and gentlemen. You really are. And together, we're going to make sure that we turn this around. You can see evidence of this right side tidal wave that's sweeping the planet. In Europe, we talked about this yesterday to a degree. The right side conservative candidates winning elections in the European Union. We're going to experience that here in the United States. In fact, we did in 2020. A lot of you didn't think that we had the red wave that we were hoping for. We didn't in Washington, D.C., but throughout the rest of the Republic, we certainly did. And so do the hard work of it all. Get involved. Make sure that you are involved in your local county communities. Forget trying to have an effect on D.C. That will take care of itself once we get our local communities under control. That's the design of the founders that's so brilliant. The local victories that we experience in our states and our counties will work their way up towards Washington, D.C. But we have to gift ourselves again, like I said yesterday, with the gift of and the virtue of patience, this change that we're looking for, this reawakening, although it's begun, and I can see great evidence of it, it won't happen overnight. We've got to begin to understand that. The radical left has been at this for 127 years. That's not a number that I've just pulled out of the hat. Since 1897, they've been getting involved as activists, and we are now catching up. It's not going to take us that long, because quite frankly, we're smarter than they are. It will take us a lot less time, but we can't be discouraged. America is not on her deathbed. She's just fine, but we're in a nightmare. You are waking up, and it's obvious. We're going to talk about some of the evidence of the wake up that we're experiencing, a good sign coming from the Supreme Court today. That and some more topics when we come back from this break. Ladies and gentlemen, you are the most important people in the room. Head over to DougBillings.us. Click on the website on the donate button. I wish we had a donut button over there. And that might be a good idea. Let's get the web team on a donut button. But a donate button on the website, DougBillings.us, is how we continue to provide you the show and bring you the truth that the legacy media will not give you. Head over there. Prayerfully consider a recurring monthly donation, and I will be right back here with you in just a moment. Stay with me. Cheers.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. Melissa and I have been taking Bella Grace, this powerful elixir, since last fall, 2023. The results have been amazing. My hands would crack and bleed, deep cuts and cracks every winter for years. No matter what we did, we couldn't get them to stop cracking and bleeding. This year, I took Bella Grace, no cracking, no bleeding. My acid reflux, gone. Haven't had to take a Pepsid. My hair growth, the last 2 times I had my hair cut, the lady had to use thinning shears on my hair. That's amazing. We've also received incredible feedback from you, our listening audience, and the impact it's had for you. This is loaded with astaxanthin. That's a powerful antioxidant. Collagen, but top grade collagen. Studies show 95% of it is being absorbed in the body because of the way they develop it. Then we have something called cat's claw. That's an anti-inflammatory from a vine in Peru. It's the bark, and it's an anti-inflammatory. There are about 80 clinical trials on Bella Grace. Please get a subscription now and save. MelissaHousebg.com.
You guys, I'm telling you right now, you're going to see a special on here, Brandon. You're the first one that is showing this right now. That Percale Sheets, remember that we had a box store canceled their order again. Okay, those Percale Sheets, you see the original price there on the King or on the Queen. I believe it's, I can't read.
$99.98.
And then they were on sale on TV for how much?
$39.98.
Now they're $34.98. So you take, and same in the King, you have $119 on sale everywhere in the country for $49.98. Here for Brandon for B66, $39.98. This is the lowest price you're going to see forever. This is it, the MyPillow bed sheet sale there. And then if you back it up, you guys. And then you're going to see also that, remember the extravaganza with the $25 MyPillows? This is where it all started. We've sold over 83 million MyPillows, the premium there with now with the new Giza tick. Doesn't matter if it's King or Queen, $25, any loft level. You guys, this is what keeps my factory going. This helps everybody, okay? And it helps you get the best sleep in history.
I want to tell you about the good people over at EMP Shield, electromagnetic pulse. Electromagnetic pulse, ladies and gentlemen, it can fry your home electrical system or your vehicle's electrical system. But if you attach one of these, now this is for your breaker box at home. There's a smaller version that goes on your battery of your car, your vehicle, that will prevent it from being fried in the event of an electromagnetic pulse. Because as you know, thanks to Administrator Biden, many people coming across the border now who don't exactly have the best of intentions. Protect yourself. EMPshield.com. Get huge discounts over there if you use the promo code Doug. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are from the right side with Doug Billings, expressing viewpoints from the side of life, liberty, logic, and happiness. That's what you get over here. Trent Franks, ladies and gentlemen, I can't say enough about him and his candidacy. He is one of us. True, make America great, make Arizona great candidate. Follow him, find him, TrentFranks.com, and support him. We are experiencing today some good news. See, even in the midst of a nightmare cast upon us on purpose by the radical left, there is good news, and it's directly related to what President Trump did for us, specifically with regards to the Supreme Court, because today the Supreme Court handed us a victory for our Second Amendment. A major victory. They ruled that bump stocks do not transform a firearm into an automatic weapon, and so they struck down this federal rule that attempted to interfere with your right to bear arms, and they that would have banned and did ban bump stocks. The Supreme Court said no, not on our watch, and it's important on many levels, ladies and gentlemen, because as you know, our founding fathers, again, we on the right side talk about the founders because of their brilliance, because of the vision and the inspiration that came to them from God for the creation of this republic. Now, that is like garlic to a vampire for the radical left. They can't stand to be reminded that God inspired this republic and that he inspired the founders to write our founding documents. The left can't stand it. They don't want to talk about it. They'll do everything they can to block that out. In fact, they have blocked God from their platform, their policies, and their politics. But the founding fathers intended for us to have unfettered access to firearms. Now, I'm going to pause a minute because around the world, liberal heads are exploding. Unfettered access. The words, ladies and gentlemen, shall not be infringed, as it turns out, actually mean something. And the federal government has no business regulating our access to firearms. Again, this is all making liberal heads explode. They can't wrap their head around that. The only document that we need, my friends, in order to verify our ability to have and possess firearms is the Constitution of the United States of America. Now, I am not in favor of letting felons and violent criminals have access to firearms, but therein lies the problem with the radical left. I will explain. Because the radical left will cry out, this radical left woke mob will cry out, but Doug, during the time of the founding fathers, all they had were muskets, man. Come on. They didn't have automatic weaponry. They didn't have these things that are being used in America and around the world today. You can't try to convince us that the Second Amendment applies to modern day firearms. Yes, in fact, I can, and that's exactly what the Founding Fathers intended. Let me use the musket example, because the kook fringe throws that out quite frequently. All they had were muskets. That's a completely different story. Think about this, ladies and gentlemen. During the time of the Founding Fathers, the musket was the most advanced firearm that anyone could have. There might have been one other, but the musket was the most advanced weapon of the day, all right? The founders wanted American citizens to have access to the most advanced firearm available to them at the time. Now let that sink in, radical left, woke, liberal mob. Let it sink in. We are intended by design and inspiration of God and the founders to have access to firearms. It is a God-given right that is codified in the Constitution. And in a 6-3 decision today, Justice Clarence Thomas wrote these words, and I quote, Congress has long restricted access to machine guns. That's a category of firearms defined by the ability to shoot automatically more than one shot by a single function of the trigger. These are the words of Clarence Thomas in his majority opinion today. He continues and he says, semi-automatic firearms which require shooters to re-engage the trigger for every shot are not machine guns. This case asks whether or not a bump stock, an accessory for a semi-automatic rifle that allows the shooter to rapidly re-engage the trigger and therefore achieve a high rate of fire, converts the rifle into a machine gun. We hold that it does not. And those are the words from Clarence Thomas today. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, thanks to President Trump, the court engages intellectual maturity in their ruling, which wins out over the intellectual immaturity of the liberals. Radical, liberal, woke politicians, radical left, liberal media talking heads, and social media influencers and members of the celebrity class will claim that this somehow increases, that the ruling today increases gun violence. They are wrong. What the radical left, what they need to focus on is having a conversation. Have a conversation with their liberal state attorneys general. And these people, these liberal attorney generals and state district attorneys, need to enforce the laws that are already on the books. And they need to prosecute these criminals with extreme prejudice. Instead, what we get from these radical district attorneys and attorneys general is that they don't prosecute them. Or if they are prosecuted, they don't get stiff sentences and they're let out early if they're even put in jail at all. This is the problem. Violent criminals back on the street. This is where gun violence stems from. I could go down a list of at least 36 stories whereby a mass shooting in this country was perpetrated by someone who was in jail just a few weeks or days prior on gun charges, but they've been let out early by a radical left district attorney or state attorney general. It's nonsense. It is, and look, part of me as I look at the landscape of America, this is no accident. And it forces me to draw one possible conclusion. The radical left's failure to enforce these laws with extreme prejudice means that they want violence. They want gun violence to continue, ladies and gentlemen, and that may sound shocking, but look at the evidence. Evidence of the obvious, as I say, is sufficient.
Thank you for joining me today. We've really had an incredible week of news, haven't we? And again, the excitement of living in this day and time. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't trade this day and time for anything. Yeah, I'm concerned because I'm watching America collapse. I'm concerned because I'm seeing danger all around the world. I watch a lot of news, as you can probably tell. But the other thing is I read a lot of Bible.